And today we are going to be talking about auto training your dog, putting your training on autopilot, because training is easy to do, but it's oh so easy not to do. So let me take a few minutes and bear with me, and I'll make sure that I am actually on Facebook here. Hold on a moment as I double check the technology of everything here. Okay, perfect. Looks like we are good to go. Okay, so today we're going to talk about auto training your dog, because training your dog, we have so much on our minds right now. Training your dog is one less thing, right? But training them is so important. It's easy to do, but it's easy not to do. So I'm going to give you some quick little easy tips that you can do to be consistent with your dog. And who the heck am I? Those of you that are familiar with me, my name is Cindy Scott. I'm the founder director of Dogs Etc. Dog Training. And I have been training dogs for, it's embarrassing to say, but almost 3 decades now. And my whole mission in life is to enrich dogs' lives. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why we're doing it right here. So let's talk about auto training your dog. Let's get straight into it here. And yeah, comment. Hi, Ronnie. Good that you're here. Good. I want to make sure that everybody's on here. Again, full disclosure, technology is not my strongest suit. I know dogs, I know animals, but computers and all this other stuff, I know just enough to be dangerous about. So auto training your dog. What we want to do is we want to integrate the training into your life and make it as much a habit for you to work with your dog as it is for them to behave at a certain level. Because the reality of the situation is, and I'm as guilty as anybody else, they get good and we slack off, but unfortunately training is lifelong. I can't just work out and then go drink beer and eat pizza and still stay fit. It's not going to happen. I can't just brush my teeth one time and then go, okay, I'm glad that was over with. I'm good for the rest of my life. Doesn't work that way. And the same thing with behavior. Behavior is always changing, our behavior too. So what I want you to be aware of is your own interactions with your dog and taking advantage of those interactions and making sure that they're learning what we want them to learn. So first thing is make your dog work for everything. No free lunch. How do they work? They have to say please and thank you, just like kids have to say please and thank you. How do they say please and thank you? They do a sit. They do a come. They do maybe half a dozen command sequences depending on your dog and your time and their expertise level, but make them do several things before you feed them. Make them do a sit before you throw the ball again. Make them do a sit and a watch me before you clip that leash on. Make them say please and thank you throughout the day. And that way, it's also helping for them to learn how important sit is, because the butt has to be on the ground for you to pay attention to them. So sit's pretty important, okay? The butt has to be on the ground before you clip that leash on. So sit's pretty important. And again, what we learned yesterday, and if you didn't watch yesterday, please go back and rewatch it. And if they're doing the right thing, they're not doing the wrong thing. If they're sitting, they're not jumping up to get your attention. If they're sitting, you don't have to wrestle them to the ground to clip the leash on and then go for a walk, right? Which you're inadvertently rewarding that craziness because you clip the leash on and then you go. So they learn, oh, I go crazy and I get to go for a walk. No, what we want them to learn is to be still and quiet. Yay. So nothing is free. I want you to get in the habit of making them say please and thank you. Even before you throw the ball, before you give them that new toy, before you pet them, especially those of you with large dogs. Unfortunately, the larger your dog is, the more important their good behavior is. Because, if a 5 pound dog or a 10 pound dog jumps on you, it's annoying, but it's not dangerous. If a 50 pound, 100 pound, 150 pound dog jumps on you, they're going to knock you over if you're not ready for it. So it is a safety thing to keep in mind. Okay. So make them say please and thank you. Integrate that training into your life. And I want it to be as much a habit for you to ask them to do it as it is for them to do it. Because the more you reiterate to them, the more it becomes a habit for them. So eventually you don't have to ask them anymore. When you've got that bowl of food or you've got that new toy, they're just going to come up and sit for it. Yay. That's what we want. Again, full disclosure, I am the laziest trainer on the planet. The more I can do sitting on the couch, the better. I'm sorry. That's all that there is to it. And the more that they do without me even having to ask them to do it, that's beautiful. That's a thing of beauty. I don't want to be walking my dog constantly going heel, 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 sit, heel, heel. I want him to just do it so I can, drink my coffee, talk to my friends, whatever. I just want them to behave a certain way. And this is how you get there. The more consistent you are, the more consistent they're going to be. So make them work for everything. No free lunch. Okay. No trust fund babies. They got to work for a living, which brings me to the next point. And are you sitting down for this one? Be prepared, because this is going to make most people's heads explode when I say this, because it's such a paradigm shift. And that's take away their food bowls. What? Yeah. Take away those food bowls. Do not feed your dog in a bowl anymore. There's no law that says that dog food has to come in a bowl. Take them away. If you take their meals, you put it in a bowl and you give it down, it takes them maybe 10 seconds to eat it. And then they're like, next, what else? I'm going to go, steal stuff. I'm going to go eat cat poop. I'm going to go look out the window and bark at the neighbors because I'm bored. Make them work for their meals. So instead of putting that meal portion in a bowl, which is way too easy and not challenging for them to get the food out at all, you're going to take that food portion and make them work for it. Use the kibble as a treat. So instead of giving them lots of potentially fatty and junk food treats, we're just going to make them work for their meals. So we're not adding in calories. This is to a certain extent important with puppies, but for another reason. But once your dog gets to be an adult, we don't want to be adding in a lot of fat and calories. Obesity in pets is just as epidemic as obesity in people. So please keep in mind what you're feeding your dog and just make them work for their meals. Now you can zhuzh up their meal a little bit. I call it Doggy Trail mix, where I'll take a treat bag and put, I don't know, maybe a quarter of it is the treat. And then the rest I'll just dump in their dry kibble. And then you shake it up. And it's like doggy shake and bake is what it is. You shake it up, and sometimes they get a piece of kibble. Sometimes they get a piece of jerky. Sometimes they get a piece of liver. Sometimes they get, 3 or 4 pieces of kibble, whatever. And then what happens is, if you're putting in the liver and the jerky with the kibble, then the kibble tastes and smells like the jerky and the freeze-dried liver and everything else. So I don't know what they're going to get. And it's always something good. So make them work for their meals. Take that meal portion, whatever it is you're feeding your dog during the day, whatever they should be getting nutritionally, and calorically, what their requirements are. Take that portion and put it in the bowl, but don't put it down for them, or put it in a baggie or what's ever convenient for you. And then set the bowl on the counter. This is what I do. I set it on the counter in the kitchen, because how many times a day do we walk into the kitchen or walk past the kitchen? And every time you walk into the kitchen, then it reminds you to call your dog, maybe have them do a sit, a down, maybe have them do half a different things. So you're training your dog all day long. Also, by having them come, it works on those recalls and coming from distractions and coming from whatever the situation is. They come, they sit, they go play. They come, they sit, they go play. I call it the check-in game, where they just come, they check in with you, and then they go play again. But by setting the meal out, it reminds us to do it, because it's easy not to do. I mean, I come back to that, but it's the truth. Training is easy to do, but it's easy not to do. It's easy to go, I'm so busy today, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll work on that tomorrow. Tomorrow, right? Don't we always say that? But you have to feed your dog every day. You should feed your dog every day. So take advantage of those meal times. And then depending on your schedule, of course, we're all busy and every day is different. We've got different things going on. If you don't have time to do a lot of sequences and commands and so forth with your dog, then do maybe a couple repetitions, and then whatever left over, you put in a toy. Yep, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Trust me, we're going to talk about this. Love this so much. But you're going to take what's left over and you're going to stick it in a Kong, and you're going to make a, there's a treat still stuck in there. You're going to make them work for this. The Kong, and I could talk days and weeks about how to utilize this baby. Again, I'm the laziest trainer in the world. I would much rather have the Kong dispense the treats than me. Okay. The more this does, the less I have to do. And I would say a good 8, 9 out of 10 behavior problems are simply because dogs are bored. Especially you have your young, active dogs. They get bored. When they're bored, that's when they're going to go dig in the backyard. When they're bored, that's when they're going to go steal your shoes and have you chase them around for it. That's the best game ever, right? The chase game. Yay! I got the shoes. I got their phone. They got to chase me for it. And they always know what stuff to steal to get us to chase them, you know. Counter surfing, barking even, you know. If your dog is bored, that's when they go to the front window and go, okay, who's coming by? If your dog is busy doing this, there's 1,000 things they can't be doing. Okay, this is going to keep them occupied and busy. And if we make them work for their food, then they're motivated to do it. I can't tell you how many people, I always talk about the Kong. Of course I talk about the Kong and other toys that you put food in. Oh, I put a biscuit in there, or I put, you know, a little treat and he got it out and then he was done with it. Find something else. Experiment with what to stick in there, right? And if you put their food or a treat in there and they're not interested, then this is the only place that they get fed. If this is the only place that they get fed, at some point they're going to get hungry enough to where they're going to be like, I'm going to figure that out, right? Again, no trust fund baby dogs. If your dog has a whole heaping bowl full of food, why would he get it out of here? He's not going to work for a living. He's like, oh, I'm going to go get it. I don't have to have a job. Daddy's paying my way. Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I'm a little bitter that I don't have that for sure. But I want the dogs to work for it. And motivation is the key to everything. If they're not motivated to get it out of there, they're not going to do it. But if we can find something that motivates them, that they're willing to work for, dear God, this is going to make your life so much easier and make them so much happier. Because believe me, they would rather be calm and secure than anxious and nervous. I'm sure I would rather be calm and secure than anxious and nervous. I'm just anxious and nervous most of the time. But this, oh my gosh, this is going to help you so much. But the trick, the key is really to find out what they're motivated to work for. And if you put in something and they don't care about it, try something else. You know, if I gave you this, you'd be like, whatever, Sid, I don't care. Get that out of my face. If I put in, you know, some nickels in here, you'd be like, why are you doing this to me, crazy woman? If I shove this full of $100 bills and diamonds and gold coins and I don't know, whatever else, I guarantee you'd at least take a few minutes to try and get out what you could, right? So that's what we have to figure out, what motivates them. And some dogs, just putting in some kibble and wetting it a little bit so it expands and it's not so easy to roll out, that's plenty. Some dogs, you have to stick some chicken at the bottom and then a little bit of kibble and then maybe a cookie and then maybe some peanut butter on top. You have to get a little bit more creative. But figuring out what your dog is willing to work for, it's just going to make your life so much easier. And there's so many training applications for it. And again, it comes back to that motivation. If they can just eat their meal out of a food bowl so they're not hungry, they're not going to work to get it out of there. Or even if you put chicken in there, they might not even be willing to work for that. But if that's the only place that they get fed, at some point they're going to get hungry enough to work it and to really work it. Now, the caveat to that, of course, is if your dog has some health condition, if you had a puppy, like a toy breed puppy, where their metabolism is so high they have to eat very, very frequently, or they get low blood sugar and become hypoglycemic very easily. If that's the case, then obviously you would have to tweak this to work for what is going on with your dog. Or if your dog is diabetic, obviously, this doesn't work because they have to have insulin when they eat, blah, 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 blah. So keep in mind, again, those medical conditions, they may make it a little bit more complicated for you, but that's 1% of the dog population that has something that could prohibit this. So really take those food bowls away, make them work for their food. And what's left over, you shove in a Kong. So nothing is free, make them work for everything. And enrichment and exercise. That's kind of dovetails with the Kong. Obviously, this is enrichment. It's keeping them busy. It's keeping their brain busy. Because again, when they get bored, that's when they get in trouble. So simply by giving them a stuffed Kong, you're going to eliminate so many behavior problems. Remember, we talked again yesterday about mindset and how we get in the habit of, okay, they're misbehaving. What do I do now? They're misbehaving now. What do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? We want to prevent them from misbehaving. We say it's easier not to drive into a ditch than to pull your car out of the ditch. So this is a way not to drive into the ditch. So if you know that your dog gets really excited in the evenings, and that's when they start barking, or that's when they start, doing this uber attention seeking, jumping at you, etc., which is typical for dogs, by the way. Dogs are crepuscular, which means that they're active in the mornings and the evenings. That's when they would hunt. So that's when you see them have the most energy. That's when they get the quote unquote zoomies, where they just run around, especially puppies, which I envy. Can you imagine just having so much energy that you don't know what to do and just running around because it's fun? Please, if I had that kind of energy, it would be so dangerous. But know that about your dog. Evenings, very common. That's when they have these bursts of energy and they don't know what to do with themselves. That's when they're going to run out and chase squirrels or bark at the neighbors or start digging. So if you know that your dog starts to do that, 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever, whenever the sun goes down these days, preemptively give them one of these. Give them something else that they can be doing. It's very difficult to bark with a mouthful of peanut butter. So again, if they're busy doing what we want them to do, by default, they can't be doing what we don't want them to do. And this is such an easy thing to get them busy doing. And it's mental stimulation. It keeps them thinking and it keeps them busy. And if they're thinking about how to get the chicken out of this, they're not thinking about your neighbor that's skateboarding out front that they want to bark at. Iggy. I think Iggy was a skateboarder in another life or something. He's just like, I want to do that. Let's go. I don't know. I'm projecting, but Redirect. Keep them busy doing that. Keep them busy doing what you want them to do. And the Kong, by the way, this is a great one to take with you. It's portable. So when you take your dog on vacation, when you take them just down to Starbucks, because you deserve a treat too, right? So take your dog down to Starbucks with you, and while you're having your treat, they get their treat. But utilize it, make them work for it, and enrichment. That's what I was talking about. Enrichment, keeping their brain busy and keeping their body busy. So enrichment and exercise kind of go hand in hand. It's the mental stimulation and it's the physical stimulation. And again, know your dog. Obviously, some breeds have more energy than others. Your working dogs, your herding dogs, your terriers. If your dog has terrier right in the name, you know you got to keep them busy. Okay, so keeping their brain busy, keeping their body busy, and doing it periodically throughout the day. One 30-minute walk a day is great, but honestly, for a lot of dogs, it's just not enough. They need that 30-minute walk plus 5 minutes, a couple, 2, 3, 4 other times a day of just doing some command sequences. Again, do half a dozen come sit downs, watch me's, rollovers, play deads, shakes, whatever is in their repertoire. Half a dozen times throughout the day, do it. And again, if they're working for everything they find rewarding in life, you don't have to think about it. It just happens automatically. Now with puppies, I also kind of like to add this into when I take them outside to go potty, because puppies are on that potty schedule as we're potty training them, that they go out routinely every hour, typically, or every hour and a half, depending on the age of your dog. And after they've pottied, then I'll do maybe 3, 4 command sequences with them. Take another 2 to 5 minutes outside with them, using that interaction as an uber reward for going potty outside. But also it reminds me to give them that extra little bit of mental and physical stimulation. So then when I bring them back inside, I give them a Kong and they calm down. They're not going to be trolling for stuff to get into. They're not going to be stealing socks and barking at the neighbors, etc. And especially if you have to be crating your puppy, or you're still in the confinement stage, confining them, let them get all of that physical stuff outside. And then when you bring them inside, you can settle them down with a Kong, no problem, or another toy. Okay, so physical exercise and that mental enrichment. Remember, a Kong, it's basically like Xbox for your dog. So depending on what you stuff in here, it's a new toy every day. Okay. I have to go get it. I had to put it up because my dogs saw me get it out and they're like, what? They got all excited. So this is what I do. Just pictures worth 1,000 words, right? So like I said, if you're feeding your dog in a bowl, if you're putting their kibble in a bowl, it takes them maybe 5-10 seconds to eat it. If you put the kibble in here with maybe a little wet food or a little peanut butter on top or something, it may take them 5-10 minutes to get it out. Now, what I do is I take like a freezer bag and I'll put 3 or 4 of these in the bag at a time and freeze them. And I'll put in, it's starting to defrost, just again, regular food. I'll put in maybe a couple of treats, put a little bit of wet food on top or a little peanut butter or something. Come here, Rue. Okay. And then before I give it to them, I make them do a sit, because they have to say please and thank you. Sit. You can see. Oh, there you go. Not coordinated enough to have 2 dogs. Remember at one time when my kids were little, we had 5 dogs. Can you imagine? I could easily have 20 dogs, seriously. The older that I get, though, I just don't have the patience like I did. No, I guess I have the patience. I just don't have the energy. So put it in a little bag like this, put it in your freezer, and then that way you don't get kibble and pieces of jerky and peanut butter and everything all over your freezer. And then you have them ready for you. That's the big thing I want you to know, is be prepared. The Boy Scouts were right. Be prepared. And this is something that I think being a mom has really taught me, is don't wait till the kids are hungry. Have something that they can easily munch on while you're getting dinner or whatever. Because hell hath no fury like a hungry toddler. That's all I'm saying. So if you're busy, you can easily pre-stuff these at night, and then before you go to work, grab them out of the freezer and give to them. I'll have a few in the freezer at all times. Do you want this one too, Rue? Come here. Come here. Rue, come here. Good boy. He's such a greedy poodle. I'll have them in the freezer. So if something happens during the day, I'm busy, I just need to be there, I can just grab it and give it to them. You know, my husband's been working from home now since all this COVID stuff has happened. Is that Iggy? Yeah, he's all working it. My husband's been working at home since all this COVID stuff happened. So it never fails in the morning when he's on a conference call or is talking with a client or something. The dogs are like, hey, let's play, let's go. He'll just go and grab a Kong and give it to them. And I call it the Kong Hangover because I'll come out and the dogs will be like all passed out on their beds, like with the Kong next to them, you know. So so give your dog a Kong Hangover. It's a good thing. Keep them frozen, be prepared, but use them. Don't forget to use them. Use them as needed. Honestly, that's the best thing that I can tell you. And it doesn't have to be the Kong brand. I do like Kong. They were the originators of all of this, but there's different knockoff brands. The rubber ones are very easy to wash, shall we say. I was a borderline germaphobe before all of this COVID stuff. Now I'm like full on germaphobe. But they're easy to wash. So what you do is if your dog doesn't get all this stuff out or there's still a little peanut butter or remnants or something, you just fill up the sink with some dishwater and put them in, let them soak, and clean them out, and they come out great. But remember when you do I don't know where the purple one went to, they are color coded. So the black one is the most indestructible. So if you have a terrier, a dog that likes to really chomp or rip things apart, go for the black one. They also have the red one is like your classic Kong color. It's like the medium durability. Isn't this cute? Kong sent this with some stuff. It's like a little Kong holster. Isn't that cute? So you can like put it on your belt. Always have a Kong ready, I guess. But the red is the medium durability. They also come in purple, which is for seniors, so it's softer. So don't just get the pretty color. If you have a terrier and you get a purple one, they're going to rip it apart, I guarantee you. Or the baby pink or the baby blue is for babies. It's for puppies. So it's even softer still. So that's not something you want to get for a heavy chewer, to be sure, because they'll shred it. Heavy chewers, you want to go for the black one. I would probably start with a red one. They do come in different sizes, of course. So you want to make sure that if you have a toy dog, that if they stick their jaw in here, that there's plenty of room for them to get it out, so it's not going to get stuck. And that's true of any toy that you buy them. You want to make sure that it's safe for them. If you have a giant, large breed dog, they also have like the little baby ones. You just want to make sure it's not a choking hazard. So, you know, just like buying a toy for a toddler, you want to make sure that it's safe and okay for them. Okay. Other toys that I like, Nylabone. Can't see Rudy. Rudy's like, oh, yay, my Nylabone. The Nylabones, these are for heavy chewers. And again, if you have a terrier or a dog that has a really strong chew reflex, go for the durable chewer ones. But these are something they can just chew and really sink their teeth into. But see how it's like got little grooves and stuff? So you can put peanut butter in there or some wet food or even just like chicken fat or rub some chicken or something. So it has that taste and they'll want to chew on it. They come in different shapes. My dogs like the wishbones. I love the wishbones. And like something like this too. See, it has like the grooves in here. So again, even something like this, you can just rub a little bit of treat or smush some food in there or something. So what it does is it passively teaches your dog to chew it. Just because you have 1,000 chew toys doesn't mean that they're going to go and sit and chew on them. I can't even tell you how often I hear this. You know, the dog is misbehaving, doing something, and well, he's bored. He's looking for something to do. Well, he's got 1,000 toys. Yeah, but he doesn't like any of those toys, and he doesn't know how to play with any of those toys. You know, there's a big difference. You can have them, you can have the most beautiful car in the world. Doesn't mean you know how to drive it. I have a house full of boys that have, I can't even tell you how many video games we have in this house. I have no clue how to play any of them. Nor do I have a desire to play any of them. Although I do like some of like the Mario Kart racing. That's kind of fun. I like to like push them off the road. That's kind of fun. But just because they have the toys doesn't mean they like them or they want to play with them or they know how to play with them. And the easiest way to teach your dog to play with it is to put food in it. It passively teaches them. I mean, there's some active things that we can do and so forth. But again, did I mention how lazy I am? I mean, work smart, not hard. And the easiest thing is just to put food in these. And if your dog is busy chewing on these, he's not chewing on your shoes. He's not barking at your neighbors. He's not chasing squirrels. He's not digging up your roses. I don't know, fill in the blank of things that he's not doing. Remember, teach what you want. If they're doing the right thing, they're not doing the wrong thing. It always comes back to that. Replace a bad habit with a good habit. Now, I do want to mention quickly about the toys. These are the ones that I like. There are toys that I do not recommend. Squeak toys are not chew toys. Squeak toys are good for training. They're good to get, you know, little squeak to get your and keep your dog's attention so that you can interact with them. They're good to throw. They're an interactive toy. And again, I use them as a reward for training. Tug toys. I use the tug toys as an interactive toy. You can see them like tugging, like you can see what I'm doing. I use that as a reward. It's not something that they can just sit and chew on because most dogs are going to shred them. Those little rope toys, they'll get off pieces of that and they'll ingest them, and it can easily cause an obstruction. Some of the toys have sharp edges, like, oh gosh, like the plastic squeaky toys that are hard plastic. They can get off pieces of that, and they're sharp, and they can actually perforate an intestine. All sorts of nastiness that can happen. So you want to make sure that what you give your dog is safe for them. And even within the toys, you know, watch if you're doing an off-brand toy, watch your dog with it. I got these at PetSmart a couple of days ago. I don't know if you can see this. I mean, this is like a day's worth of chewing, and they're getting little flakes. I'm throwing this away. This is how they got little flakes of this off, and they can pull off pieces of this and ingest it, and it's not good for them. And so that's the difference between an off-brand toy and like a Nylabone. I mean, they've had this Nylabone for months. I don't know how long they've had this. And I don't know if you can see barely even like teeth marks, I guess is what you call them. So just watch your dog. Be safe. Watch your dog, watch your dog, watch your dog, but keep them busy doing things that you would like them to do, because if they're not doing what you want them to do, I guarantee you they're probably going to find something that you would prefer that they did not do. So keep them busy, Kong it up, and work smart, not hard. Think about being proactive, not reactive. And get in the habit of giving them things that you want them to do so they're not doing things that you don't want them to do. Yeah, I said that right. And again, it's really building our habits to do this. And so set something up that's going to be easy for you to do. You see, Iggy's like really going to town on that Kong. See, again, if he's doing this, he's not watching the skateboarders out the front window. Although I think he watches them going, oh, I wish I could do that. I know he just wants to play with them too. So Kong it up, but get in the habit of freezing them so you have some ready. Again, it's really just building our habits so that we can build their habits, isn't it? Have them ready, be prepared, and utilize it. Utilize it. So how to auto train your dog, how to train your dog without even really thinking about it. Nothing is free. Make them say please and thank you. Make them work for everything throughout the day. And you're just training them without even thinking about it. That's the best. And then build in your exercise throughout the day, do some sequences randomly throughout the day, have them even just come and sit and check in with you. It's a beautiful thing. And then what's left over from their mealtime, put in a Kong, put in a toy, and don't feed in a bowl unless you really have to. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule. There's always things where, you know, your day doesn't allow for it, or again, maybe if your dog has a medical condition or something. But as much as you can, make them work for those meals, to be sure, because training is forever. And I have seen it so many times. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I've had dogs myself a long time. I've worked with so many thousands of dogs. And just because you're not having a problem this week doesn't mean you might not have one next month or 6 months from now or 6 years from now. And that's really what we want to do, is not just solve problems. We want to prevent them from happening, you know? And I've seen it too many times. What was the catalyst for me to start my inclusive programs, my Zen Dog program that I started, oh gosh, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago now. It used to be the Amazing Dog program. Now I've upped it to the Zen Dog program. But what was the catalyst for me to start that and to offer unlimited classes for the year was because of an email I got from a lady that had a puppy. She took her puppy to my puppy class, and the dog was great, was beautiful, no problems, you know, sailed right through. And I got an email for her or from her maybe a year after she finished the class. And she had said that the puppy was doing great, but once she got into adolescence, which is about 5, 6, 7 months, depending on the breed, she started some bad habits, which is typical: jumping, attention seeking. But the worst habit was dashing out the door and running away. And she's like, oh, we always meant to call you. We meant to, you know, come back, but it just never happened, and blah, blah, blah. Life happens. And then, yeah, one day the dog ran out and got hit by a car. And I was just so devastated by that, because not only for this little dog, but, you know, that it happened to me. And that's what got me into training in the first place. It was because my little dog Pepper, she ran into the street, and it was a minivan, and she couldn't compete with that minivan, all 10 pounds of her. And we had done the training, you know, this is back as she was killed in 88. 89. It was a year after I was married. Oh, gosh, how old am I, right? The 80s. But it was a year after Gary and I were married, and almost to the day. It was July 5th, 1989. I'll never forget that. And anyway, I'd done all the training with her, the choke chain training. She was beautiful on a choke chain, because that's all I knew back then. I don't know. I did what they told me. She was good on a leash, but I could never stop her from doing something that eventually took her life. And so that's why the training that I do, those of you that know me, it's all about the real world. I don't honestly really care about obedience stuff. I only care about the obedience stuff as it pertains to behavior, because I care about what's going to keep your dog safe. And so that's why I started the unlimited programs, so that you can come all year. And then that way, if a problem does arise, I'm right there and we can nip it in the bud. But also getting over this adolescent hump, and I guess that's the point of my story. I do tend to ramble, is your dog can be great neonatally and puppyhood, and then they hit that 6, 7, 8 month mark, and now they're teenagers. And I can't tell you how many people are like, where did this come from? He was never doing this before, never jumped on the table, like counters, or stole a shoe or whatever. That's, you know, it's development, and they're always changing. My son's in the backyard. Iggy, it's Harrison. Badass watchdog. It's always changing. It never stays the same. They go through these different stages of development. So I want you to be prepared for it. And by getting your dog on autopilot and by doing these things, you'll prevent a lot of problems. You'll never drive into the ditch. And that's really what I want. I want to keep your training going very well so you don't even see these little divots that can be happening. So please get in the habit of making them work for everything. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Take away those food bowls and please utilize those toys. And remember, just because they have the toys doesn't mean they know how to play with them or that they want to play with them. So make them want to play with them. Use your food. Use your food. But we don't want to make them fat and blow out their pancreas and have other problems. So just use their mealtime. Okay. Okay, so that is your homework for today, is to integrate your training. Hi, Ruru, did you like that, huh? And tomorrow we're gonna do this again, so please join me. I don't know, you guys are so sick of me, right? So tomorrow we're gonna do this one more time, another Facebook Live. It's Harrison, Igmund, it's Harrison. And tomorrow I'm gonna talk about how to read a dog food label. Now, this is one of the most requested things I get, and I know it's very confusing. There's 1,000 different types of dog food out there. Which one is best for your dog, and how to decipher what the labels mean, and what to look for, and what to stay away from, and all of that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. Dog food labels, what to look for, what to immediately put back if you read that it's on the label. So if you have a particular question about that, please leave a comment for me. Other comments, what you'd like to see, if you'd like to see other topics. I mean, again, this is all about you. This is all about your dog, and discuss with each other. I really want this to be a community, because we are a community, and dog people are the best. They're so supportive. And usually somebody can help you out, or at least have a good idea that may trigger something in your brain to do. So tomorrow it's all about nutrition. Yay, I could talk forever about that and how to read a food label. But please comment if you have suggestions, questions. That's what I'm here for. And I will see you guys tomorrow. If I can figure out the technology again. Bye for now. Stay safe. Wash your hands. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.